Gather around, folks, for a tale that's juicier than a watermelon at a fruit ninja convention. Imagine, if you will, a secret government program so wild that even Jane Pond would raise an eyebrow and go, bloody hell, that's bananas. Welcome aboard the roller coaster ride where once upon a time, right here in the good old US of A, the government dabbled in mind games so intense it accidentally birthed a counterculture that believed pineapples belonged on pizza. Yeah, I know, it's shocking. Prepare to feed your head and have your conspiracy-loving hearts flutter like a flock of pigeon bombs. Those were real too. Because today, we're talking about Ultra. MK Ultra. Okay.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
It's alive!
I was with you.
They're coming to get you. What a power of Christ. This is
Me?
Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Hello, and welcome back once again to Hello, Mr. Fancy Pants. And today I'm joined by the Todd. And, as always, Spar.
What's happening?
I'm just ready to fucking get this over with. I know I said I wanted to do this. I was wrong. I was fucking wrong. So wrong.
I haven't been able to drink tap water for weeks.
I don't fucking blame you. This is like, I did a deep dive. I've been doing a deep dive on this for months. And we could do a whole fucking podcast, like a whole different podcast just on MK Ultra.
There's probably one out there.
It would last for fucking years, man. It would last for years.
It just keeps going.
I shit you not. It's nutty.
I know the basis of it, and then I know like the counterculture stuff that happens, and then some of the stuff leading into it. But man, is there a lot? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. This will be part one of probably part 27 in a series that we'll be doing. I'm joking. But yeah.
This will be kind of do it and then come back.
So you mean 4,260 Dukes of Hazzard?
A lot of Dukes of Hazzard.
Way more Dukes of Hazzards than they ever fucking recorded. We'd have to watch the whole series over like 100 times. And the specials.
Probably have.
Yeah, I know I have.
There's a Simpsons worth of Dukes of Hazzards.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. What are they up to? Like season? Are they on 30?
Man, I don't even know.
Like
I quit watching so long ago. It's been.
Well, they keep predicting the future, so hey.
Some of those videos are fucking hilarious too.
So Todd, Lindy's not here, which is weird. She's not feeling that great. So you're gonna have to be the one that just laughs uncontrollably the whole time to make me feel like I'm funny. Okay.
Why do I have to laugh like her?
You don't have to laugh like her. You just have to laugh.
What? That shit's creepy.
Sound like
there you go.
Crazy-eyed gremlin from Gremlins 2. The googly eyes. Okay. Do we have any other business to discuss, or do you just want to jump into this?
We got business. We got business real quick. Okay. We got business.
Are you gonna go? Are you gonna bring up the fact that Angel of Death was in Gremlins 2 when Stripe was changing into the tarantula?
No. I'm going to tell you that I went and seen Foreigner and Loverboy last night.
Boy. And
you know instructions to know how to rock?
I was thoroughly
loving every minute of it?
Well, you could show me what love is, but no, I was utterly amazed. See?
Yeah.
No, I was utterly amazed at how good these guys still are. And then, mind you, it's their farewell tour. They're like, we're going out on top of our game. Dude, his vocals still fucking dead on. The part that killed me, because I did not know this, and you'll understand why it bugged me. Jeff Pilson. Does that name ring any bells for you?
It sounds familiar, but I don't know from what. I can't.
The name's familiar, yeah.
He's the original bass player for
Oh, okay.
Dokken.
Okay.
Him and Mick Brown, the drummer, are like one of my all-time favorite rhythm sections, okay?
Mhm.
Those two together. Jeff Pilson has been playing bass in Foreigner since 2005.
And now you're
And
kicking.
I did not know it. I'm staring at him on stage and I'm like,
Wait a second.
that's Jeff Pilson. No, it's not. That's Jeff Pilson. No, it's not. And then they did like a whole little acoustic thing for like 4 songs, man.
Yeah.
Straight up like MTV Unplugged, real fucking acoustic. It was fucking great. And then he's like introducing everybody. He goes, and this is my longtime friend Jeff. And I went, motherfucker, it is Jeff Pilson. Ah!
It is, Jeff. It is.
So, if you have the opportunity, go see Foreigner.
Do it
It's a great
quickly.
show. It's the last time they're ever going to go out. They're not going to do the Motley Crue thing.
Oh, you mean suck
Which is
and
my
not,
ultimate
and not actually play
business
their
here.
instruments anymore? Or sing?
Yeah, all the
Well, I think
above.
Mick played his
So-
guitar, but
God,
So you're
Yeah.
saying
God damn it, Mick's the only one that fucking really plays shit. We got to get rid of him. John, you want a job? We'll pay you really well to do nothing and
Yeah.
make it look good.
so you're saying don't be as cold as ice and get hot blooded and go see Foreigner.
I'm telling you, if you ever wanted to be a jukebox hero, go see Foreigner.
All right.
So what's your
All
guys' favorite live albums by any band? I mean, if there's any band that's got like a live, we probably ought to save that shit, shouldn't we? That's going to be lengthy. Okay, never mind.
That's either a whole
Gentlemen,
other
can I
top
say-
8 podcast
can I say
or
something?
a fucking live stream.
This is. I've got 10 pages typed
yeah.
already. This is going to be a long one,
Okay.
and we're not even
Hey,
going to get to the actual MK Ultra part of this story. So
hold on. I'm gonna bribe. But bruh, that's the whole point. We're here to do nothing but fuck with you.
all right. Well,
We're going to be like the tap water from back in the day.
all right. Well, how about you just
I got my bottled water
Mhm.
for today, so I can think clearly.
and you don't have to get up to pee. Got it.
No fluoride for me. All right.
Let's
Let's
dive
go, let's
into
go,
this
let's go, let's
because
go.
otherwise,
Yeah.
it's going to be forever. Okay. In case you have been under a rock, MK Ultra was a highly secret CIA mind control project, in search of developing mind control, truth drugs, mind erasing, brainwashing, and torture techniques to use against the Russians during the Cold War. It officially began in 1953 and lasted 2 decades until 1973.
It seems really
Now, many of-
recent. That's very
Well-
recent in my mind. It was yesterday.
50 years ago.
Well, here's the deal.
But yeah.
There's 20 years of this.
Right.
There's 20 years.
And then-
over 20 years, actually, because this started well before that, and we'll get into
I think the
that,
scariest part
into
is
that.
the fact that they have released some things. No, we definitely did this, so
They've released almost, anything that's not classified has been released, but most of this stuff all these documents were destroyed.
naturally.
Yeah, because they didn't want to fucking get caught with their hand in the cookie jar.
Our
So-
government? No.
Well, and here's the underlying thing. You have 2 lines. When people have information, there's 2 lines that go down. They're either, culpability and liability.
Right.
The biggest point of destroying a lot of the very early records when they were just playing with military folks is because if there are no records and you fuck these people up
You can't.
and they
be held
go,
accountable.
I can't function. It's like, well, we didn't do it.
Yeah, can't be held
So
accountable.
there's no veterans benefits. There's no nothing. They're just like, yeah, you're fucked, bro. We don't know what you're talking about. That never happened. And so that's where a lot of the very early on portions now, as it expanded, then it became more about not so much the liability, but the culpability of actually doing this to quote unquote normal citizens.
Yeah.
And then, you're a tyrannical government who's doing whatever, but no, not
Of
America.
course
No,
not.
actually, yes, America, for sure.
100%.
May I continue?
Yes.
It was a point of order.
All right. Okay. All right. So many of these experiments conducted under the MK Ultra program were done on unsuspecting subjects, just like you just said, and they sunk down to the level of similar experiments run by the Nazis in concentration camps and Japanese that they'd used in China. Okay. But before we go way down deep in the rabbit hole and feed our heads, we should probably start at the very beginning with all the events that led up to one of the U.S. government's darkest known secrets. Now, this is not a conspiracy theory, folks. These are facts. This is just straight up conspiracy. That's the most fucked up thing about all of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the beginning, before there was the CIA, there was the OSS, okay? Office of Strategic Services. Before World War II, America was still they were flying biplanes, and like a lot of other countries, they were way behind in technological advancement in warfare. Okay, in that department, the Nazis led the way in weapons tech. They had developed the V-1 and V-2 rockets, biological and psychological weapons through experimentation, and also extensive espionage. The OSS was formed during World War II by the Joint Chiefs of Staffs to coordinate espionage behind enemy lines for all branches of the U.S. Armed Forces. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, president at the time, was concerned with a serious lack of American intelligence, and he appointed this gentleman named William
in his grave today.
Wild Bill Donovan to plan a draft based on the British intelligence MI6. Donovan constructed a plan for a single agency using commandos, guerrilla techniques, and disinformation to conduct special operations and foreign intelligence. And for the duration of World War II, the Office of Strategic Services was conducting multiple activities and missions, including collecting intelligence by spying, performing acts of sabotage, waging propaganda war, organizing and coordinating anti-Nazi resistance groups in Europe, and providing military training for anti-Japanese guerrilla movements throughout Asia. Wild Bill was like, I think he's still the most decorated American because of his service during World War One.
Okay.
And he was called Wild Bill because he just fucking kept sending his boys back in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, nope, we got to keep moving this fucking line. And he was a badass. He was also fucking nuts.
Sounds, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the common things that is spoken of him is like he is the true modern format from lead from the front, not the back. He was the guy that was there with a fucking revolver, running with his guys with rifles, going, "We got to get another 5 feet, boys!" and fucking just.
He was George Washington.
He was not a sit in the back in a tent, Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of military, aura that's always like, "Oh, Wild Bill, lead from the front."
I don't think there's a better way to get guys to follow you than be in front of them.
That's true.
Give them some inspirational speech and sit in the back and be like, "I'll be back here with the drummer boys."
It's probably worth noting that most of the higher ups in the OSS were old money and people that had ties to money in Europe. Because they had connections in Europe and Asia.
Right.
Now, at the height of its influence during World War II, the OSS employed more than 14,000 people, and they operated independently of any other military organization, and they had no budget. So basically, they got to do whatever the fuck they wanted to do, whenever the fuck they wanted to do it.
No cap.
They did not fucking get in trouble for it.
There was no cap. This is why the Dallas Cowboys won a bunch before they put the salary cap into football.
Yeah. Now, many of these guys ended up stealing funds that somehow ended up in their own bank accounts at the end of World War II.
God, thank God that stuff doesn't happen anymore. I mean, we can trust them all now, right?
Yeah. And, in the 40s, you somehow end up with like $1,000 worth of small bills in cash in a duffel bag. I don't know where that came from. You know,
For
I didn't know
some
that.
reason, I'm seeing Donald Rumsfeld on September 10th on the White House lawn going, we don't know what happened to $3 trillion we sent in cash to Iraq.
No idea.
Oh.
And then September 11th.
Yeah.
There's your
There we
conspiracy
go.
theory.
All right. So, in 1941, intelligence reports from Asia reached Washington, in which they found out that Japanese forces trying to overtake China were using biological weapons. And in doing so, they were killing thousands of not only soldiers, but women, children, civilians, by dropping anthrax bombs and poisoning water supplies with cholera.
It's a madhouse.
Yeah. So the then Secretary of War, Henry Stinson, saw this as a threat to the U.S., so he got his leading U.S. biologists together and told them, hey, go do some research into biological warfare. And before they had finished the research, the U.S. was at war with Japan. Now, the findings that they found in their studies, they discovered the Japanese and Nazis were both conducting heavily research into biological weapons and producing them. This kind of scared the shit out of FDR, so he formed the War Research Service. Biological warfare had been banned by the Geneva Convention of 1925, but the U.S. decided to conduct research into developing similar weapons because they did not want to fall behind the Nazis or the Japanese. And they were like, fuck them. If they're going to do it, fuck it, we're going to do it too. Winston Churchill, actually, who greatly feared biological attacks from the Nazis in the UK, he asked for FDR to help him build several large biological weapons for the British, and the job was assigned to the Army's Chemical Warfare Service Division. So in 1942, higher-ups from this division met with bacteriologists and scientists from around the U.S. and Washington, D.C. to see if it would be possible to manufacture bioweapons safely on a mass industrial scale. Now, majority of these, if not 99% of these guys, all said it would not be possible to do this. There's no way. It's just an impossible feat to accomplish. But there was one bacteriologist named Ira Baldwin, who was teaching at the University of Wisconsin at the time. He said that if you can do it in a test tube, you can do it in a 10,000-gallon tank. And soon after this meeting, General Cambridge of the Chemical Warfare Service appointed Baldwin to head the development and construction of a site to conduct production. He was like, oh, you think you can do it, huh? Well, guess what? I'm going to give you an unlimited budget. You just got to get it done fucking fast.
I think, was it like America was like, Japan had Unit 731 and the Nazis had their concentration camps. We're just not going to do that. We'll just conduct it over everyone. we'll just let it.
Right. Yeah.
Freaks me out.
So
man.
Ira Baldwin took a little while to find a spot, but he became the U.S.'s scientific director of Army Biological Warfare laboratories, and like I said, had a limitless budget. They told him, whatever you want, you got it. So he settled on this site of an old National Guard Army base named Dietrich Field outside Frederick, Maryland, which is actually located very close to Camp David, like 50 miles from Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And after 3 months and $4 million of construction, the site was named Camp Dietrich in March of 1943. It became the official headquarters of the Army Biological Warfare Laboratories. And everything that happened there was deemed to be top secret, and work soon began after Baldwin brought in around 1,500 scientists, some of which were his former students, we will get to later. But everyone that was brought on board to the project was sworn to secrecy, signed waivers that in the event of their deaths, only Army personnel, scientists, and members of the camp were allowed to perform autopsies, that their caskets would be sealed and never be opened. And
top secret
so
/ illegal as hell.
Yeah, pretty much.
Not if you signed the paper.
Yeah. You signed the paper.
You signed the paper. You consented.
Yeah. So then they got to work and they started developing anthrax spores. They bred mosquitoes infected with yellow fever. They made pigeon bombs that had toxic spores covering their feathers.
I didn't think birds were real. Oh, we're not doing that conspiracy, are we?
No, that'll be a different one. So, in early 1944, the next year, Winston Churchill changed his request for several of these large bioweapons, and he said, "You know what? Instead, give me about 500,000 bomblets filled with anthrax." Because he was really scared that the Nazis might try to use bioweapons against them in a last-ditch effort against Great Britain.
Now I got the time ticking in my head.
Time ticking in my head. Time. So work on these bomblets was well underway, and they were in production in a factory in Indiana in April 1945 when Germany surrendered. And soon after that, Baldwin returned to his position at the University of Wisconsin, but even with all the advancements they'd made in the 2.5 years of the project, the higher-ups in the military feared they were still lagging behind the Germans and Japanese. So as they started rounding up all these Nazis,
fucking Nazis,
counterintelligence, goddamn Nazis. The counterintelligence corps started rounding these guys up in Germany, and they started questioning them about their work that they had done for the SS. One of these higher-up Nazis that they found was Kurt Blum. And in 1943, Blum was studying bacteriological warfare. Fuck, that's a mouthful. Officially, he was involved in cancer research, but that was like just his cover. So he also served as deputy health minister of the Reich and had worked under Heinrich Himmler.
Ooh, well, that's a big name. Epic piece of shit.
These Nazi doctors had accumulated a unique store of knowledge.
They had learned how long it takes to die after exposure to various germs, chemicals, and toxins, and which ones killed most efficiently. They had given shit like mescaline and other psychoactive drugs to concentration camp inmates and experiments, and they steered all their findings, in ways to control minds, break down human psyches, and the Americans were like, you know what? This is kind of a unique experience here because they've got all this data, and if we had that data, it might give us a little edge over everybody else.
Just to add to that, Blum, while being a viral quote vaccine specialist, also set up all the criteria for they were also testing for altitude chambers. How high could they take a human being in altitude before they started to feel effects? They also were doing cold chambers where they would put a person in there and time the drop in temperature and at what temperature the human body would actually stop functioning. So they knew exactly what the amount of time and the exposure point and temperature was. He set up all the testing criteria for all of that, which became so much bigger because not only was he this big viral vaccine guy, but he also set up all the testing criteria for basically what would become, space flight and everything else. So he was a huge grab. The only thing I want to say is that
they couldn't grab him at the time, though.
They didn't. Because he actually went through the Nuremberg trials.
We're getting there.
And was indicted. And what's the word I'm thinking of? He was basically vindicated. He was not found guilty.
He was acquitted,
Acquitted, thank you. Yeah. But they found him guilty of other things. Yeah. And they ended up putting him in prison. And
I bet his prison was a lot like Goodfellas prison.
We're gonna get there in a minute. And like you said,
no, you won't.
Yeah,
you're moving too slow.
Nah.
Come on, pick up the pace.
Come on,
pick up the pace.
By the way,
like you were saying,
when you said cold chamber, I thought you said cold chamber, and I was like, oh, did that make you loco? Loco.
No, but they'll get you a big truck. Big truck.
Like you said, much of this data that Blom had, acquired was unique because it could only come from doing these experiments in which human beings were made to suffer or die. So this brought up this huge question of, so should we kill everyone that was a part of the Nazi war machine? Or should we bring someone back to the U.S. to work for the government?
I got paperclip.
And the big guy that posed this question was OSS Director William Donovan in 1944. And he was like, hey, FDR, maybe you could approve this recruiting project primarily just just for now. How about some spies?
Did it finally sink in that OSS wasn't good? Like the whole Nazi thing, is that why they changed it? It was like, we just got to keep SS out of everything if we can.
They're going to get there. He was like, hey, if we give these guys immunity from prosecution and, entry into the U.S., maybe they can help us out. And FDR's like, go fuck yourself. And Reinhard Gehland, who was a senior Nazi intelligence officer, surrendered to the U.S. forces in 45 the next year. It was like really briefly, like I want to say 3 weeks after FDR's death.
So he surrendered in 45 when it was over. It was okay.
Yeah, he was like, well, he waited for FDR to die.
Oh,
that's my guess.
So he knew somebody gave him some heads up, buddy. I bet.
Yeah.
Truman's on board. We'll be good.
Yeah. He agreed to turn over his vast German spy network to the OSS for legal protection and a large stipend.
Yeah. And probably a nice house to live in for the rest of his life, and women, most likely.
So right after that, the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency was established by the U.S. Army to actually recruit these Nazi scientists, not spies, scientists, primarily to keep them out of the Russians' hands, because they didn't want the communists to get a hold of them. Like I said, they were like, we got to fucking, if we don't take these guys, the fucking Soviets are going to get them, and then we're fucked. That was kind of their mentality on all this shit. And never mind if these guys are all fucking super bad, evil, bad.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they're dead, they can't help either side. So
right. But I mean, we're getting ready for the space race. I mean, we're ramping up. We're in the fucking beginning of the Cold War at this point. So the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency started arranging new jobs for all these scientists in the U.S. And then clerks at the Kreinsberg Castle Interrogation Center in Germany, where most of these scientists were taken, held, and interrogated. They started using paperclips to mark the most troubling cases. And that's where the name of the operation got its
name.
Operation Paperclip.
By the way, I'm not even supposed to be here today.
Not even supposed to fucking be here today.
Yeah,
so
we're open.
I assure you.
Bunch of savages in this town.
So Operation Paperclip gave former Nazis falsified backgrounds and identities. And President Truman approved it in September of 1946. And he's like, okay, we're going to let up to like 1,000 of these German and Austrian scientists enter into the U.S. It's in the interest of national security and stuff.
It sounds better when you word it that way. A bunch of these scientists, instead of just saying, a bunch of these cold-hearted motherfucking Nazis. Just going to all allow it.
They're not communists. They don't like the communists either. We got to fight the communists.
Goddamn right. So the main goal of this whole thing was to recruit all these Nazi rocket scientists, like the rock star, Werner von Braun. He was the guy that engineered the V-2 rocket.
Yep.
For Germany. He later becomes a key figure in America's space program, works on rockets like Redstone, Jupiter C, and the Saturn V.
Damn.
Okay. There are others, like Arthur Rudolph, same thing, German engineer, also worked on the V-2 rocket program. Yeah. Same deal, American space program.
Beginning of Skunk Works.
Also key developer in the Saturn V rocket, Kurt Dubois. I don't know how to fuck
You nailed it. On that last, I think it was the last one.
He was another,
Dubois.
Dubois. Another German rocket scientist involved in the V2 program. He was the first director of NASA's Kennedy Space Center.
Great facility.
There is a picture of him sitting with JFK and Lyndon Johnson during a launch. And I don't know if you got into this, but I just real quick. In the early days when Nazis were taking off and all these people were coming up in these colleges, they had this weird fucking shit they would do where they would duel with swords. And if you start looking into a lot of
these guys have slashes on their faces and shit.
They have all of them on the left side of their face because most of them were right-handed. So they'd wear all this padding and these metal goggles, but they all have these, and it's like a rite of passage. It's a fucking mark of honor. Yeah. But you start seeing all these guys, and it's like 8 out of 10 of them, man. They've all got this, but they're all the ones that are like, oh, well, I really didn't know. It's like, I see the scar, bro.
He's got one, but this other guy's got 3 on the other side of his face because he was going up against a southpaw, and that's weird to defend against.
There are no southpaws in the Aryan Nation, my friend. Not in the master race.
They murdered him.
Also, if you're colorblind,
it'd be a dead man.
No, that makes you a full retard.
Yeah, that's right.
And you never go full retard.
I got a good brain.
Well, you know that Werner von Braun, he was like on some fucking Disney thing. You can watch it on Disney Channel, Disney Plus. It was like some program they did on rockets. He's on there.
Oh yeah, I had heard. Yeah, I'd heard that about Walt Disney. He might have been a little sympathetic.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
There's all these other guys that
Birth of a Nation.
I'm not even.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not even going to get into like guy that invented space medicine. People basically played key roles in the American space program and space exploration. Okay, they got us to the fucking moon. They got us in space.
They brought the Tang and the space ice cream.
Some of these guys helped us develop American missile programs too.
Fucking Tang.
Goddamn Tang, motherfucker. I ain't talking about the poon kind either.
The orange drink. Don't care how much you stirred it.
Not purple drink.
I don't care how much you stirred it. It was still crunchy at the bottom. Didn't matter. Every time.
Yeah. Unless you used hot water. And then you got to let it cool down.
I never went about it that way. I was always in a hurry to get the Tang.
I'm left-handed and colorblind. I think about things different because I'm a little retarded.
You never put your sugar in the cold tea. You always brew it and put your sugar in while it's warm, and then you pour it over ice to cool it down.
Now I'm getting it.
We all know that. Jesus.
God damn, y'all fucking want to be fucking hick.
Y'all are left-handed and colorblind. Jesus. So I'm going to continue.
Go ahead.
Because I'm only on like fucking page 3
I might care.
I'm just going to remind you of what you said at the beginning.
I know.
Read faster.
So after the war was over, Chemical Warfare Services was renamed the Chemical Corps. The higher-ups watched as all these Nazi spies and Nazi rocket scientists came to the U.S. and they said, so what about the other ones? You know, the doctors, the chemists, the biologists, and, you know, all the fucking asshole, evil motherfuckers who could give them the results of experiments that had been conducted at all these concentration camps.
I just realized something.
What's up?
Truman was the original singer for Creed. He looked at all these Germans and went, "Can you take me higher?"
That was bad.
Hold on. And here's the Lindy giggle break.
All right.
Oh boy.
All right, so
I don't think she'll have a
all the
smile on her
guys
face
that were
when she
running
hears that part.
So all the guys that were running Paperclip, Operation Paperclip, they were like, you know what? That's not a bad idea. So with their help, they got some German scientists who worked at chemical and biological warfare projects, and they arrived at Camp Dietrich less than a year after the war ended. And all these guys had been members of the Nazi Party, and they were assigned to teach all these Americans about sarin, which was this lethal gas that they'd helped develop in Germany. It seemed really promising during wartime.
It's going to work.
So
Zykol gas also.
Yes, many other ones as well. So they used records from their wartime experiments. showed how their subjects had died within minutes after inhaling their first doses. They're like, it did not matter if they were old, young, fat, skinny. They just died. All of them. So, and it's, it's not a real big secret. They carried out all these experiments and they all led to death.
Yeah.
And
life matters not.
Yeah. But DC was like, you know what? If we had all this shit to use, in a future war, that'd be pretty bad.
Wait, you talking about them rich men north of Richmond?
I figure if we know all that stuff, maybe I could live to be like 200-300 or something. So all these guys in Operation Paperclip are like, this is
you might end up with a neck leg, but by God, you might live to 200.
So they were kind of like, if they weren't too bad, let's let them in. And Operation Paperclip guys were like, let's see here. So whenever they came across a scientist they wanted that didn't have a great past, they were just like, okay. And they just rewrote his bio, gave him a new name. And, those had formerly been labeled as ardent Nazis were now just like, they put this not and stamp on it. Not an ardent Nazi.
Yeah.
And after they had been quote unquote bleached, they were suitable candidates for paperclip contracts.
And mind you, a lot of this was just to get them visas through the State Department because that's the bureaucracy of it. Yeah. They could have smuggled them in, but they wouldn't have been able to fucking keep them and let them do anything. Right. So they had to get the State Department to buy it off. So that's where the fucking cleaning came in.
Yeah. All these U.S. scientific teams, they just turned a blind eye and they were like, ooh, they were caught up in the razzle dazzle of all this tech that the Germans had. I mean, they were like 20 years ahead of everybody else at the time.
So it's like we were just like, just ignore those mass piles of bodies as we step over them, and then
maybe these Nazis will give us all their scientific knowledge.
Did you bring up the Ark?
That's kind of what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, imagine if they would have actually found the Ark.
It belongs in a museum.
Belongs in a museum. Yeah. So, the FBI got pissed off and they started conducting their own investigations on some of these Nazis trying to get in the U.S. And newspapers started reporting on some of these applicants that had been picked before they could reach the U.S. in charge of war crimes. And Bosket Webb, who ran the whole Operation Paperclip, he said, you know what? If we don't fucking bring these guys in, they're going to end up doing war research either in Germany or in Russia. And then we're fucked. And everybody's like, okay, yeah, maybe. And then after Japan surrendered in 1945, the whole process started over again. When Japanese scientists admitted having a secret germ warfare program named Unit 731.
That's a rough motherfucker, dude. That's rough.
Yeah. In the Chinese region of Manchuria. Damn. Now, you want to hear about some of these fun experiments?
Are you going to do some of these?
731?
Oh, boy. We could do a whole episode, but I think I would throw up. I would need a bucket.
I'm just going to briefly skip it. But it's enough that it might make you throw up.
That's rough shit, dude. Yeah.
Like, hey guys, what do you think would happen if we injected air into somebody and created embolisms?
Death.
Let's try it out. Let's try it out. Oh, hey guys, what if we amputate some limbs off of somebody and then watch as these person slowly dies of gangrene, and then we can see how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So that sounds pretty cool.
Very scientific. Very good call.
And then maybe we should expose people to poison gas. And then, as they die, let's cut them open and look at their lungs so we can study them as they die.
While they're still alive. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Let's try that.
Good call.
Let's do that. Oh, guys, you know what we should do? We should probably try to electrocute a bunch of people and then try to figure out how much voltage we need to kill a person.
Yeah, we need to know the exact limit where it goes from agonizing pain to death.
Make it so number one. All right. What about if we make these high pressure chambers and we find out how much pressure it takes for someone's eyes to pop out of their head? Let's do that too. Oh, wait. What if we tried to dissect somebody? But wait, what if they're still alive when we do it? Let's try that.
See, and then it doesn't matter how many it takes. We'll just keep taking people, so we can just never ending amount of.
Yeah.
We've got so many guinea pigs.
Or maybe we should stake somebody to the ground, like completely naked, and then like expose them to shrapnel from anthrax bombs. We set up a couple yards away, and then let's see how long it takes them to live.
Before they're caught in the mosh. I'm just going to do it every time you bring it up.
Yeah, never longer than a week on that one. Or wait. What if we impregnate women simply to supply infants for vivisection? How about that one? Does that one piss you off, Matt? That one pissed me off a lot.
Yeah, it's like, you mean, we get to rape them before? Great. Good call. Great plan. Oh, geez. How was the office today, honey?
You know what?
Oh, it was a rough day. I had to rape 14 girls and killed 37 people. I could use a drink.
Yeah.
How about we stake some people to the ground and then use them to test flamethrowers out?
As if you have to be. They wanted to do that shit. They had to want to because, duh. Well, you could have done that with a dead pig, but no.
So after Camp Dietrich found out about this, they received detailed reports. They were like, "Fuck, we want to know more." And General Shiro Ishii, he was the guy that ran 731. He was acquired in 46, along with a lot of his scientists from the same unit.
You mean monsters?
Yeah, but they didn't come back to the U.S. They were stationed in East Asia, where he turned over documents on the data they acquired on various toxins, poisons, diseases, all the shit that they experimented with. And he helped the U.S. scientists conduct experiments that could not legally be conducted in the U.S. Okay, to give you
I'm so fucking angry.
The Russians were a little smarter about how they did it. They found 12 members of Unit 731. They took them into custody, found them guilty of war crimes, and sentenced them all to, I think it was anywhere between 2 to 25 years in prison. But more than likely, all these guys ended up working as scientists for Russia in the advancement of their own biological weapons.
Most likely.
After that. Yeah. So by 45, Truman decides that the OSS is no longer needed. He disbands it primarily because the OSS is involved in operations in the United States, which they're not really supposed to do. And they also don't mind working with communists to get shit done, and that pisses the FBI off.
Probably could have just dropped the O at this
he's
point.
Like, yeah. So, next in the chain of events, we have the Nuremberg trials.
Oh boy, yeah.
In November of 1946. So they find 23 defendants on trial for war crimes committed by Nazis, including Kurt Blom. And in the following year, 1947, 7 of these people were found guilty, sentenced to hang. 9 were sentenced to prison, and 7, including Blom, were acquitted due to lack of evidence.
Lack of evidence, fucking ass.
The whole lack of evidence thing, I have a feeling that maybe the U.S. government had something to do with that. Just saying. So immediately the U.S. tried to get him into the U.S. to further, their own biological warfare program. But they can't bring him to the U.S. So in 47, Truman changes his mind about the OSS. He signs into law that this former OSS officer named Alan Dulles, who's you're going to hear his name a lot in the next few weeks. He helped write this National Security Act. And this National Security Act, this law, formed the Central Intelligence Agency, the CIA. Okay. So, where are we at? We're in 47. Okay. So by late 49, serious concerns arise about...
We're through 1 Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah, no shit. That's a lot of
We're
Dukes
a little over. We're Dukes of Hazzard and a quarter in.
Jesus Christ. So by late 49, serious concerns arise about the communist bloc's possible capability for mind control. Around this time, a Hungarian cardinal by the name of Josef Mindszenty, who had previously been a very vocal opponent of the communist government, was arrested and accused of treason. During his mock trial, Mindszenty confessed to planning to take over the world, stealing Hungary's crown jewels, yada, yada, yada. It was noted during the trial that he appeared to be zombie-like, with a blank stare throughout the trial. And many higher-ups in the government in the CIA were like, this guy looks like he's been reprogrammed or hypnotized or something.
Drugged.
Now, 20, 30 years later, he stated that he'd been beaten and tortured to the fucking breaking point. But at that time, CIA fed their fears and paranoia into thinking the Russians cracked the code on mind control, and they couldn't fall behind in the Cold War. So they developed the Special Operations Division at Camp Dietrich, and the idea of this was simply to experiment on the engineering of human behavior.
Was the Camp Dietrich where like the men who stare at goats thing was, or was that much later, or was it the same place? It was.
It would have to be later, like in the 60s.
But it was the same place. Okay.
I believe it was around the same.
Okay.
Area, yes. Camp Dietrich was like where all this is like biological and chemical warfare shit. You're thinking of like psychological warfare. So that would be a different.
Same place.
Okay. Yeah, but different division. Same place, different division. So in 1950, the CIA and Special Operations Division at Fort Dietrich began a joint program, later codenamed MK NAOMI, wherein Fort Dietrich would supply whatever substances were needed, and the technical service staff of the CIA, which is like the division in charge of the James Bond shit, like the fucking suicide pills and pins that shoot out fucking needles and full of poison and shit.
And your sousaphone.
They had So they had the authority to use all the substances overseas during covert operations. So basically, Special Operations Division could make the shit. The CIA could use the shit. They just couldn't use it on U.S. soil, supposedly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
They decided, if we do this, we're going to have this huge fucking arsenal of lethal and incapacitating weapons within the TSD, the Technical Service Division of the CIA. And basically they worked on suicide drugs, assassination poisons, and researched defensive biological weapons.
A whole lot of death.
Allegedly.
No. They fucking did. They fucking did it. Now,
but I'm sure there's somebody over there going, I can neither confirm nor deny.
I'm sure there was.
Or no. Well, one up it. They did the Alley North. I have no recollection.
Right.
By death, what do you mean? What do you mean by death?
So the U.S. Army Special Operations Command and the CIA, they made these modified guns that fired special darts through this program, coated with these biological agents and poisons that could, for example, incapacitate a guard dog as you're trying to break into a place. And then they got these other darts that they could fucking shoot the guard dogs with as they're leaving to wake the dogs up. So no one knows that they'd been there. Shit like that. In addition to all this, the Special Operations Command was designated to research the potential to use biological agents against crops and other people and shit like that. So MK NAOMI then was like, they were like, what would happen if Russia came and tried to carry out a bio attack on the U.S.? So they made a plan. They carried out this fake biological attack on the Pentagon in 1949 using this mock bacteria and ventilation systems throughout the Pentagon. And from this operation, they concluded that the exercise would have probably taken out half the people in the Pentagon by infecting them if it had been an actual attack. Now, all the U.S. military higher-ups, they were like, well, okay, wait a minute. So what would happen if the Soviets attacked a city? So, at that point, the CIA helps the U.S. military carry out an actual biological attack on San Francisco.
Oh, it's just a training op. It's just a training op.
No, it's not. No, it's an actual biological attack. Yeah, no.
But they wrote it as an actual, like, a movie script.
Yeah, they did. So they chose San Francisco to the dense fog in the area because the gas that they were going to use was colored, and that way they could release it to the city without.
Thought we weren't doing racial comments.
I think it was like red or orange colored, so all the carrot people, hopefully they're not pissed at me.
I don't think so. That should be okay. Yeah.
This operation was named Operation Sea Spray. and it shot clouds of aerosol-based bacteria that was supposedly harmless in an attempt to see how much of the population would be affected.
If you type in Operation Sea Spray, I think you'll probably get some crazy videos that'll come up.
Well, you better have the porn filter on. Otherwise, you're going to get a lot of crazy videos. Yeah.
I'm just trying to break this up because I'm so damn angry.
Well, dude, we're not even fucking in yet. This is just the build-up. We're in the tippy top.
We just got the tip in.
So after this Operation Sea Spray had taken place, they found that several people actually developed urinary tract infections from the bacteria, and they developed little red spots in their urine. And one person actually died from complications because it had like a some sort of tract infection or something before this ever took place. So from this, it was shown that not only that San Francisco was 100% affected, but much of the whole Bay Area surrounding it as well. And that was the very first time, but not the last time.
It certainly wasn't the last time.
Would use bioweapons on Americans just to see what would happen.
That's still...
Chemtrail, anyone?
I think it's still going on today. It hasn't been that long ago.
I'm not real fucking sure how they can rationalize all this. I don't know.
Money.
But they did. They did it. They fucking did it.
That's how they rationalize it. Their fucking mattress full of dollar bills they sleep on every night.
No fucking shit. I need to have
No, yeah, you should. Because I can't believe you're going through this. It's freaking... Wait, are you drinking tap water?
No, dude, I'm drinking tequila.
I was going to say, geez. Well, that's way better for you, I think, than the tap water anymore.
I don't know about that. I'm drinking mineral water with it. A little topo.
There you go.
Topo and tequila. Yeah, fucking A, man. Yeah, this is some seriously bad shit. Not good.
It almost seems plausible for some people to believe that, hey, maybe America would like set out some kind of virus against its people just to see what happens, because they fucking did.
Smart. I think a lot of people are scared of the government because they think that they're out to get them, but the government doesn't give a fuck about you as long as you show up to work.
Well,
pay your taxes, motherfucker.
One of the big things that I would say is that Linda Hunt, who was a journalist in the 70s, she was the first person to really under FOIA, because when they classify documents, it's a timeline. At this point, you either have to reclassify or they become declassified.
Right.
And she had waited for years for that time to hit for all of the stuff about Paperclip. So as soon as that time hit, she presented her FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act, and they got it's like 90 days they have to respond, and okay, you can have these and da-da-da. The government, now mind you, this is in the mid-70s, they sent her a bill for $125,000 and said, this is how much it's going to cost us to Xerox all these copies for you. So when you pay the bill, we'll give you the information. Now, mind you, stuff like that today, you could crowdfund and, do all that stuff. She had to go out and scrape and remortgage stuff, and she ended up coming up with the money through friends and everything and paid it. And then they took another 2 or 3 months, him hawing, you didn't pay the complete, the whole circus. And then finally they gave her the documents. But the thing is that they were trying to get the Senate Armed Services Committee to buy off on reclassifying these things. And in order to do it, they had to be truthful about what all this stuff really was, which was all a bunch of lies. So they were like, fuck, here you go. There it is.
A lot of it was redacted, but yeah.
So she's the Joan Jett of journalism.
Try saying that 3 times fast.
Say it once. Like it stumbled.
Let's just say that she's for our generation, she's one of the prominent independent journalists, because she was also part of the exposing the Pentagon with UAPs and everything else. She's she's been out there for a lot of years trying to, do this stuff. But that is like the ultimate government. We'll give it to you. It's just going to cost you $100, because that's how, we're not going to pay the cost.
Right.
And I'm thinking to myself, if it's going to cost you $125,000 to fucking make copies, no wonder we have fucking $50 hammers and $2,000 clips.
It's almost like the government just binding you up in some kind of trial where you'll go through your whole life savings and not be able to fight it anymore, and they can just keep pushing it back until your life's destroyed. But good thing they don't do that shit.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
All right, gentlemen. I think I have like maybe 15 minutes left here. Maybe.
All right.
Go.
Sorry.
Okay. So
1, 2, 3.
All right. So let's go back. Okay. We arrive at 1950.
Right.
The CIA, under current director Roscoe
Picotree.
Hillenkoetter, decides that they need to. Yeah. All right, Roscoe. Yeah. So they decide they need to form a team dedicated to experimenting with technology related to mind control, and they launch Project Bluebird.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Project Bluebird.
Try to say that once.
Tequila. Anyway, Bluebird. It's a mind control program that tested drugs on American citizens. Most of these test subjects were in federal penitentiaries or in the U.S. military. So, I guess in the eyes of the CIA, felons and U.S. soldiers are in the same boat, right? Fuck them. They're expendable, right? Fucking Jesus Christ. That's fucking, yeah. This is your fucking tax dollars at work.
Yeah, that's what they did and still do.
So, yeah. So shortly after this Operation Bluebird is put into motion, at the end of 1950, a new director named General Walter Smith takes over and hires on Alan Dulles, who I mentioned earlier. He was the OSS officer who helped create the National Security Act, which formed the CIA. So Dulles, we could do a fucking episode on Dulles and his brother both. I mean, they played a huge part in what we now consider modern living, modern society.
Mm-hmm.
He's like fucking way into esoteric psychology and research into psychedelics, which was just starting at the time. And he becomes convinced that there's potential to manipulate the human mind by experimenting with hallucinogenic drugs.
Yes, there is.
So in 1952, 2 years after that, these American pilots are captured in Korea, and they admit to spraying biological weapons over the country on national radio. And the CIA becomes convinced, even though there's no proof, that these POWs had been brainwashed by the communists. This term brainwashed, I think in Chinese it's Zen Ao.
Or beaten into submission.
Of wash a brain had never...
Zen Ao
had never appeared in the English language until this. And
really,
it just fed fears that had grown in the U.S. after World War II that a new kind of drug or procedure could alter a person's mind. This journalist...
You're not going to believe what we found fighting them Koreans. They brainwashing and they got quicksand.
Ooh, they wash and dry? They wash and dry? They put the fabric softener into it?
Duke of nails.
This American journalist named Edward Hunton, who happens to be contracted by the CIA and is also a firm anti-communist, writes this article for the Miami News and uses the term brainwashing for the first time in this article soon after that. After that, he writes many articles for other papers funded by the CIA, which sets a panic in the U.S. about brainwashing, communism, propaganda, bullshit.
Look at this. Look at this. Don't pay attention to this.
Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain with the small penis.
I want to bring this to a point.
Uh-huh.
The perfect example of that happened just last week. You can have all the feelings you want about COVID, okay? But the FDA approved ivermectin, the big conspiratorial fucking drug that never fucking works. They approved it for fucking treatment for COVID last week.
It took them fucking long enough.
Yes.
We may not be doing this fucking
now, mind
podcast.
You, everything's all about fucking, Trump's indictments, and they're pushing all this shit, and then all of a sudden the FDA just goes, oh, well, we approved ivermectin. We went on a whole disinformation campaign telling you bullshit. It won't work. It won't do this. Everything else. We discredited all these other fucking doctors, did all this shit, but then silently go, oh, well, yeah, it works. But we got to put a vaccine in all these people that,
And by the way, if you got worms, they'll take care of that too.
Oh, yeah.
So soon after, where the fuck was I? Soon after Edward Hunter, writes all these articles and lights this fire of panic, he rides it for all it's fucking worth. He writes this book called Brainwashing in Red China, in which he tells Americans they need to, quote unquote, this is the quote, all right? Quote, prepare for psychological warfare on a scale incalculably more immense than any militarist of the past has ever imagined.
Wow.
End quote. The House Committee on Un-American Activities has him speak at a hearing in which he tells them that the Russians have brainwashing specialists preparing psychic attacks to take over the U.S. and form a new world order to serve the Soviet Communist Party in the Kremlin. What a bunch of bullshit. He just fucking, like I said, he rides it for all it's fucking worth. That's how he's making his dime. He's just like, fuck it. I'm going to stick in my lane. I'm stay in my fucking lane. I'm just going to ride it.
Well,
it's gone.
That was his job.
Yeah. Well, at the time,
he played his role.
Actually working on some weird psychic shit, but it didn't fucking work.
Yeah, but
what it did do,
herein lies the truth of this. There's only one way to convince a group of people that doing something dire and unethical is the only way you can save them. And that is to create an enemy that is so fearful to these people that they will go, I don't care if you killed 20, you do it, man. Save us. Save us.
Yeah.
Save us.
And at the same time, the enemy that they're creating is actually getting scared, and then they're fucking counteracting by trying to develop the shit too to counteract you. So it's a Holocaust mind situation there.
Oh, that wasn't bad.
I see what you did there.
You
I
like
knew where
that?
that was
You
coming
like
from.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what all this bullshit did though. It helped the CIA sell that they needed more funding, and they acquired it into Project Bluebird. And so from that, they start developing all these black sites. And that's where black sites come into. And we didn't know about black sites for a long time. Black sites are secret illegal prisons where all these spies or people suspected of being spies or enemies of the U.S. are tortured and experimented on with various hallucinogens and other drugs to see if a truth drug, mind control, could be achieved. They were considered expendable, meaning they would not be missed if they turned up dead or just didn't fucking turn up anywhere. And they never turned up because they were tortured and experimented on until they fucking died.
Did you know there was some kind of burning thing going on?
Luckily for the CIA, though, they had all these fucking Nazis waiting on the sidelines, waiting to help them with this task, because to them it was like a fucking another day.
Yeah, I'm just used to it. I mean, really, another body to burn? Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah.
I just want to tie this in because I know we're not going to go down this route.
We're not?
Well, part of the other thing with Paperclip and the scientists was they were also working, nuclear weapons.
Yeah. The Philadelphia experiment. Yeah.
All of the
Manhattan
Project. Philadelphia experiment was
all of the early footage. All of the early footage you see where we quote unquote filmed nuclear detonations. You see all these trees, these houses, all this stuff, yet the camera never fucking shakes. Okay? Never. Not once. Okay? All of the, and I can neither confirm nor deny this, all right? That just blanket statement. Might get myself in something here. They created those films and were releasing them to newsreels, all this stuff, in the hopes that Russian spies would get a hold of it and see the ultimate devastation, and in doing that, try to scare them out of into backing down, and creating these false narrative. Because ultimately we were building them, but we didn't have any of this true detonation footage. Okay, because if you ever see any detonation footage, it's always from fucking miles away, and they leave the camera time frame in there within minutes. Even if that camera is in a concrete bunker with 3-inch painted glass, there's fucking vibration because it just fucking maximizes all of it. So they created more of the Cold War in doing that. And that is part of what they used a lot of these German scientists for, was to create a lot of that propaganda. Like, how can we create and do this? And they're like, well, if we set it up this way and do it that, blah, blah, blah. And
that's just going to feed my brother's belief that we didn't actually land on the moon.
Let's not go that. That's a different series.
Yeah. So I just
leave
wanted
fucking
to
Stanley
make that
Kubrick
point
out of this,
known.
all right?
That is also part of the CIA and disinformation and all of those things that were part of those programs. Because I know we're not going to go into the nuclear end of it because we're kind of doing the fucking up people, but
the fucking people.
I told my brother, I was like, I'll fight you right now. Buzz Aldrin was an American hero, you son of a bitch.
All right, gentlemen, I hate to interrupt you, but can I fucking keep going here?
Yes, please. Sorry.
No.
All right.
No. And to have another Lindy moment. Meanwhile, back at the ranch.
Shoot. All right. So,
Zach, did you
like
say
I said,
was
for the Nazis, it was just another day at the office, with these black sites. And enter General Walter Schreiber, Surgeon General, of the Third Reich, mastermind of experiments, instructor of several concentration and death camps.
Mm-hmm.
After the war, he'd been arrested by Soviets and placed into a university in East Berlin, but he had escaped to West Berlin, turned himself over to the Americans. It's probably worth noting to you that one of his experiments involved infecting prisoners with gangrene, then cutting them open so he could watch the disease progression in real time while they were fucking still alive and died slowly and painfully.
We could go into all the deaths.
Send this motherfucker to prison,
all the things
rather than send him to rotten prison or fucking kill this motherfucker. The U.S. decides that this is their guy. He's our guy. We need him to help develop these mind control and torture techniques. So Schreiber helps the U.S. set up black sites throughout Europe where they can do their dirty work in secret. And from the book where most of this shit comes from, Poisoner in Chief by author Stephen Kinzer, this is a quote from the book. Quote, "This set a precedent that marked a breakthrough for the CIA by opening prisons. The agency established its right not only to detain and imprison people in other countries, but to interrogate them harshly while they were in custody without regard for U.S. law." End quote. Yeah. So after they saw that this was working pretty well, they were having kind of mixed results. But it was like, we're getting some pretty good intel on this. They just duplicate the whole thing in Japan, where they injected captured Northern Korean soldiers with drugs like sodium amytal, benzotrine, corvine, picrotoxins, and all this shit it's like anything from a depressant to things that cause paralysis and seizures. And while they're under the effects of all these drugs, they submit them to electric shock, try to hypnotize them, extreme heat and cold, and they're basically all in the train of thought of like, let's fuck around and find out, or like throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. And although these fun little experiments turned up some, what they considered to be interesting results, they don't really find any sort of true serum, but they think they're all, they're convinced that they're working in the right direction. So, and I think that's where we need to fucking call it for today. And we're not even to fucking MK Ultra.
No,
like I said, this is a giant fucking pyramid. You have to understand. There's like over 150 different programs. We could literally do an entire podcast strictly based on MK Ultra and bullshit.
You pulled out on Angry Street and then did a handbrake turn onto fucking Pissed Off Avenue.
Dude, I've been stewing for over 2 months. I've literally, it's taken me 2 months to research this. So, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get this all done in 2, 3. It might be 4. I'm not sure. We'll see. I don't know if I can do it all.
Well, I know it, but if you tell me and Todd at the beginning, chime in anytime you want. It might be closer to 8 or 9 episodes before.
Okay, well, we'll see what happens. But thank you guys for listening to my fucking, conspiracy theory bullshit, which is not really conspiracy theory. It's fucking conspiracy fact. Yeah. This is your U.S. government at work. So, ladies and gentlemen, you pay taxes and you're paying for all this shit.
Keep following them. They're great.
Yeah.
The true statement and fact of this is that we look at our elected officials and all the blame always falls on them. The only control that our elected government has is to pass a law and control the money. All of these established government agencies, Department of Justice, they all have employees.
Allegedly. Let's say that for Todd, just in case.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
No, this is true.
Yeah, I know
this
it is.
Okay. So here's the thing. You have a president comes in, he's newly elected, and he nominates all these people to be the director of the FBI, the director of the CIA, the director of the fucking Department of Transportation, Health and Human Services, okay? Those are nominated positions. That person is now, quote unquote, the top dog of that agency. But the people that are the actual true managers that sit underneath him have been there for years. And they don't give a shit about who this director is. We're going to give him we're going to give him enough. And then if we get caught doing something, who gets fired? The director is the one, but these people are there. So when they have developed their own ways to, sell cocaine and make their own money, they take the congressional oversight out of it because now they don't have to ask for the money. And, well, how are you going to spend it? Where is it going to go? They learned these lessons through all of these programs, MK Ultra, all this stuff. The CIA told the Army, you need to come up with this test program for this and blah, 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 and ask them for money. And they're like, oh, well, we'll put it as part of the DOD budget, which is all set.
We'll get into that in the next episode. Trust me. We're going to get into all these little sub-programs and all the bullshit
the point I want to make is that the American people have the wrong idea that your elected officials have control and it's all their fault.
Look at this. Don't. Just look at this. Pay attention to this.
Yes. Your elected officials only have a limited amount of control, and when you have someone who's been in a job for over 30 years and they've been allowed to do whatever the fuck they want as long as they don't get caught, no.
Yeah.
And you don't want to vote to fucking up my spending bill? All right.
You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become a tyrant. Right? Is that how it goes? That seems like a good spot to end it on, guys. We're hour fucking 15 minutes into this right now. So I was hoping we could cut it down to an hour.
Oh, that'll work.
We're only 15 minutes.
That's all right. The train wreck from before is, going to make up for it. So we're all right.
A shorter episode. The last one. It'll be fun.
Oh, well, guys, thank you once again for hanging out.
Yes.
If you have ideas for episodes, if you have stories you'd like to share, or if you have questions, comments, or concerns about Todd,
Sasquatch nudes,
and Sasquatch nudes, please hit us up on the website hmfppod.com or email us at hmfppod@gmail.com.
Please do.
Please continue to like, rate, and review the podcast. It really helps out with the analytics. Puts us in front of more people.
That damn algorithm thing.
Goddamn algorithms. And be sure to tune in on Facebook and YouTube every Saturday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time for our STS sessions, the shoot the shit sessions, where we don't. I don't know. Sometimes we have a plan, sometimes we don't, but we always fucking hang out, and we're right there to answer any questions that you would have. If you want to ask us. And you can also follow us on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram at HMFPPOD.
And you can follow me at your mom's house.
Your mom's house is a podcast too, dude. I don't know if that's a bad one. It's a great one too. So I'm gonna leave it at that, gentlemen. We'll see you guys next week. Until then, I'm Zach.
See you next Tuesday. Spar.
I'm Lindy. Bye.
Okay, I love you.
And I'm
Bye.
the motherfucking Todd. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.
Right, later.
It's evil! Don't touch it!
It's alive!
I was with you.
They're coming to get you. What of Christ. This is
Hello, Mr. Fancy